Welcome back to the channel, and this is really me working out how I'm going to do this next project. You'll see in a minute my thinking. Most of this particular video is going to be me talking, trying to talk things through. But the project I am about to start, and you see me editing here, I had thought I could get it all done in one session. That's not going to be the case, so I'm going to break this one down into 2 or 3, it might even be 4 videos. You'll see why as we progress. But this is just to explain that I wasn't intending in my next introduction to let this go on, so that's why I make no mention of that. But anyway, hope you find this interesting, and please let me know what you think in the comments. Welcome to space. It's been so long since I've had this much space in the workshop. It's incredible. But the project is finished. It's installed. And just for a couple of minutes, I just want to mention 1 or 2 of the things that I've learned during the project. The first one is that I need to be more generous with the amount of stock that I look for. I thought I'd worked out how much I needed to process, but I'd got the rough cutting list, and then I added 10%. I usually do that, but that 10% wasn't enough in the end, because of miscutting lengths, and especially with the panels. I made schoolboy errors there in making sure everything was square, so when I came to cut to length I was actually cutting everything short. So I've got to really make sure that I really cut extra for stock next time I do something. And how I process that, I've found the batch process very useful. It was a case of, once I'd got into the swing of it, things went very quickly, very easily. Another of the problems that I found was getting 3D visions mixed up. I tried to get round that by marking clearly which piece was which, and even then I ended up inverting one of the side panels, so I ended up having to recut mortises. So I'm not quite sure if there's a solution to that, but anyway, that's something I'll have to see. And if I can just show you this, it's the miscut mortises, and I went ahead and filled everything with resin. Now, looking back, I know one of our viewers, Sean, passed a comment toward the end of August it was. Why didn't I plug it with extra pieces of wood, glue those in place, and that wouldn't look odd? I totally get that, Sean. I'd never thought about it, and that's something I will look at in the future in being able to plug holes, because it, to be honest, it does look much better. So what do I do with all this space now? That's, well, the main project has come to an end. So what's in the pipeline for the future? Right. Well, one of the workbenches, that cabinets that I've got, it's got the crosscut saw bolted to the top, and all of the feet are for the casters. The casters work fine, but it's got that spigot that bolts through the base, and that's been the problem. Both cabinets that I move are like that, and I found that the wood that I use for the base is just too flimsy, and eventually the casters rock and then work loose and everything collapses. So at the moment, the cabinet with the saw on, it's propped up on two casters and everything else around it. So the casters, what I've gone and done is bought some that will attach to the frame, and hopefully that will be sturdier, and so that's something for me to do. My wife wants a couple of projects done. One is a mantle shelf, and that is something that I've just been trying to do as and when things happen. She also wants something for the sewing room, so again, that's got to happen. But first off, I need to do something about this little stool. Now, it's something I made quite a few years ago now, and mortise and tenon for the frames, and because the sapele that I used for the top, two pieces, and I wanted to compensate for any variation in width with moisture, so I made myself some clips, but because it's so thin a piece, I was having trouble with screws holding. I'm not quite sure where that one's gone, but these have never quite fitted into the slots in the top of the frame. So that's the first thing I've got to do, is work out how I correct that, and then I can stop the top falling off, being kicked off, and basically making a nuisance of itself. So let's make a start. Now, one thing you'll notice from here is the clips that I've made. The slots were made with the biscuit cutter. Now that's 4mm in height, and I could really make them the slots as long as I liked. So all I did was plunge once and left it at that, and then cut the pegs to size. But talking over with my neighbour Tim, and he noticed that the pegs really aren't big enough. They could do with being longer, but also profiled, so that just the act of turning them into the slot locks them, but then clear. And if this one is fully engaged, this one almost completely misses it. So I've got to recut all 4 clips, and then I can profile them correctly. I don't think there's any need to recut the slots themselves. I just need to be able to make the clips a little better. So let me take some measurements of the existing clips, and then I can work out what I'm doing. All of the existing clips are about 49mm long, 34 wide, 15 deep, with the overhang about 14mm long and 10 deep. So the actual clip is about 5mm. The holes on the frame, the slots on the frame, they are 6mm wide and, or deep I should say, high, whichever, and the radius, what I did was get the cutter and roughly draw around it, and it works out at about a radius of 19mm. So because I'm not going to be altering the slots on the frame, the new clips need to have a radius of about 19mm. So if I, with the radius they need to be a bit longer to accommodate the radius down on the sides. The width is fine, I think, and I think I need to really extend the length of the piece as well. So for that, it's an old top of sapele that I made. I jointed several boards, and so I can use that by way of pieces to use for the new clips. But taking the old clips off, and it just highlights, I don't know whether you can see this easily, but these old screw holes are really chewing up this top. There's no way that I can screw into this as it is. So I think what I'm going to do as well is not only cut new clips, but I'm going to put some inserts in here of probably oak, because it will be a harder wood than the sapele, and it should provide better grip for the screws. So a little piece that I've got from the cupboards, that at the moment is 13mm. That's 15. So if I cut some pieces to fit here, I'll route out shapes here, and then I can glue it in and sand this flush, so that will fill the holes, provide a better grip for the screws, and then I can do the clips. Right, so first things first, decide where I'm going to make the inserts. What I've decided to do, I'll make the inserts about 50mm square. Now, to do that, I want to be able to make them repeatable, so I'm just drawing up a small template to use with the guide bush. I've gone for a 10mm guide bush, so I can get fairly close to the corners, and so I've never been very confident about working out guide bush and clearances and things like that, so this also is a learning experience for me. So what I'm going to do, just cut that out with a jigsaw, and then I can have a test to see how it goes with the router cutter using the guide bush. Right, I'll just finish that off, taking it right to the corners. hopefully that should work. So what do I need to do next? Get the router out, fit that and see how it works with that piece. Okay, so that's in place, and that moves around nicely. The only thing is this going to be big enough so I can clamp it down? So that's going to be something like that. Now if I get a small clamp, that. Will that give me enough manoeuvring room either side? Clears this side. That one is in the way. Will that be enough to hold it down? No. So I need a longer piece to do that window. Okay, so let's see what I can come up with to find something better.